All right, on to the next session. Thanks for joining, everybody. I think we might give it just a minute or so. I want to let everyone join here and kind of get situated. I know everyone kind of comes from back-to-back meetings. So I'll give it about a half a minute or so, and then we'll kick things off here with our next session with myself and Beatrice. So welcome, welcome. I know nobody can talk back, but we all like to talk about the weather. So if anyone's wondering, in Wisconsin, we're getting rain, snow, and freezing temps. So happy April to everybody out there. All righty. I think we can get going here. So welcome, everybody. This is our Hitting the High Notes session. I have a special guest with me today, Beatrice from the Opportunity Network. And we are going to be talking about their semi-recent, but their experience with us here, moving from one of our legacy plans here at Form Assembly onto our enterprise plan. So we're going to get moving here and move into introductions next. All right, so myself, some of you that may be on the call might know me, but I am an account manager here at Form Assembly. I work with a lot of our existing customers, and the Opportunity Network happens to be one of mine that I love dearly. And I oversee a lot of contractual things with our customers, but also work with the customer success team just to make sure that you guys that are customers of ours are feeling like you've got the right point of contacts with us. So I will let Beatrice then introduce herself.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are, everybody. My name is Beatrice Calderon. I am the operations manager at the Opportunity Network. I am basically the account admin for Form Assemblies. So I work with our team that actually are avid Form Assembly users. And they provide me with feedback. And then that's how my working relationship goes with Amanda and the customer success team and all the lovely people at Form Assembly.
Thanks, Beatrice. All right, so where we're headed today in our session. So we kind of talked through our welcome, our introductions here. Next, we're going to hear a little bit about the mission of Opportunity Network. And then we're going to talk through the pathway that led Beatrice and team onto their enterprise plan type here at Form Assembly. Talk through some things about their use cases and how we can walk through those with your teams if you guys are interested as well. We're going to talk about the Opportunity Network's plans for the future, what they're doing with Form Assembly or the business as a whole as well. And then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A time. All right, so Beatrice, why don't you go ahead and share with us a little bit about the Opportunity Network, what your guys' mission is, anything you'd like to really share about your organization that you think would be helpful for our listeners.
Of course. So the Opportunity Network, or OpNet for short, because the Opportunity Network can be a mouthful. In short, we ensure that students have resources, networks, and guidance needed to achieve their college and career aspirations. So we have a 6-year fellowship program where students apply in their sophomore year of high school. And if selected, they start the summer of their junior year of high school, and then they graduate our program at the end of their college time. So ideally 6 years if they go to a 4-year college. In between their time from 11th and 12th grade, they attend in-house programming sessions with us live at our offices. And then during their college time, it's asynchronous work. And then in the summer in between, they have the ability to get paid internship programs through our partners. Or if they are not interested in a paid internship, they can also have professional development opportunities. So definitely trying to ensure that they have the skills throughout their time in school to prepare them for the workforce once they graduate college. That's our main pillar, but we also do have 2 other pillars, which is our Career Fluency Partnerships program, where it's actually our partnership program where we equip schools and other youth services organizations nationwide with the tools that they need to improve their actual population, their community that they service. And we also have, within that, we have an Ignited program, Opportunity Ignited, where we partner with employers to provide our students, we call them fellows, with internships, training, mentorships, and other career opportunities. So, I could talk about what we do. That could take up the entire 30 minutes. So I'll kind of chop it there.
Great. Well, thanks. That's really helpful for everybody to kind of know what you guys do and what you're servicing kind of in your community. And you guys are, I know where you are, but you guys are based out of, why don't you tell us that?
New York City. Sorry, I should have actually said that from the start.
That's okay. So you guys are in New York City. Do you guys?
So we are New York City based.
So primarily based, that's the population.
5 boroughs. Yep.
In the 5 boroughs. Okay, got it. Great to know. Wonderful. Well, we'll move on from the mission then a little bit, but then we'll start talking about a little bit more with your guys' journey. So I'll leave our slide here for the majority of our presentation, and we're just going to kind of talk through some questions now about their experience with us here at Form Assembly. So first and foremost, what do you guys use Form Assembly for?
So we've been using Form Assembly for, I forget how long, but I was not part of the integration with Form Assembly, but the main, most important purpose for this tool is to obtain information from our students, our volunteers, our partners. So that's the main reason why we use Form Assembly, and we integrate it into our Salesforce platform. Sorry, team, I'm having technical difficulties. There we go. Okay, because full transparency, since I'm not a pro in our usage of Form Assembly, I did have my team provide me with some notes. So now my notes are appearing, so I can actually give you a little bit more insight.
I'm sure we have plenty of people on the call today that are also just like yourself. You're our primary point of contact. You work with me, but you've got a lot of people that work alongside of you. They're kind of the Form Assembly experts. We've got a lot of those here.
Yep. So we definitely use the connectors, the connector tool within Form Assembly. We use the post submission and the pre-fill connector. And we use those to populate our fields for our respondents, since a majority of our forms are going to our students. So it's the same student information over again. We also use the auto-suggest menus. That was definitely something that the team really was intrigued for. The save and resume was definitely a feature that we highly use especially with our application, because our application is definitely very thorough. And then in some cases, we do use e-signature, and we love that we can customize forms to use our OpNet branding. Yep. So that's definitely a plus for that. So it is primarily used more from our programming teams, which is the teams that focus with our students, but our career fluency partnerships team do use it. And then our strategic advancement team uses it to recruit volunteers for events and other types of opportunities. So definitely more program focused, but definitely there is someone in each team at OpNet that uses it.
Yeah, so pretty wide usage. So if you can think back, I know, like you said, you guys have been a customer of ours for quite some time now, but do you remember or do you know what your first use case was when you came onto Form Assembly? What drove the team? I know you weren't a part of that, but did they share what drove the decision to come to Form Assembly?
So now that my notes are up, we started it in 2016, so we're almost with you guys 10 years.
Okay, there we go.
And the original use case was, just like many, we needed a survey platform. But we needed a survey platform that could handle various different types of surveys, again, that we provide to the students. It was originally started for student data. And then it went on to obtaining information for annual contracts, career interests for the internship program, and then funding, and then so on and so forth. So that was the use case that we started vetting form platforms.
So you guys were really able to kind of find a platform for one specific use case, but then saw some of those benefits and grew your form usage with us, exponentially after that.
Exactly.
Love that. Perfect. Great for us to hear that. And did you guys evaluate, did they share, I know, again, you weren't the original person, but did you evaluate other software systems, or did the team share that with you? And what was kind of the differentiating factor that you guys went with Form Assembly?
So the team advised me that the deal breaker was the integration with Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
That was, it sounds like we were also using Salesforce at that time as well. We had just migrated over to our Salesforce platform a couple of years prior to our search and found Form Assembly. So because there were connectors, it was just the winner. Because it would allow us to administer surveys, and then the information automatically gets sent into Salesforce, into the contact records. And that's still how we use it to this very day, and then some.
Got it. Great. Helpful to always know the backstory on that. So let's talk a little bit about, as I mentioned at the start of the call, everyone, the Opportunity Network used to be, it was about a year or so ago, on one of our, we now call legacy plans. So it was our professional or premier plans, which, for those that maybe don't know or joined us after we had those plans, they were limited to one user license. They didn't have all the features or functionalities that we see today on our higher tier plans. So Beatrice and I got talking on a conversation one day, and that's kind of where they ended up on the enterprise plan. So I want to talk a little bit now about sort of how what fueled our conversations to start for you guys to move from that old legacy plan onto the enterprise. What fueled that for you all?
So there was a majority. The majority thing was one user license wasn't cutting it. With so many different teams using the platforms, it was getting very muddled. And then certain teams also couldn't use the platform because the responses were visible to everyone. Our HR team had to actually create another account in order to be able to keep those responses confidential. So, and then just like many of us, we are enhancing our security across all of our platforms. So when, you guys reached out, ensuring that MFA was going to be added as a factor, we have been increasing MFA across a majority of our platforms. Salesforce was the first one we started with, and then Form Assembly was just the obvious other because of the type of information that is stored. So we knew that we needed to start discussing increasing our security practices for there. So that was the main reason. And we needed to also be able to identify the forms per team and not have too much access of forms from one team to the next. Even though we are a cross-collaborative organization, all forms don't need to be visible to others.
So have you found, as part of, since you've been on the enterprise plan for quite some time now, a little bit, you guys are used to it, and we'll talk about the process in a moment, but have you found now that things are going well with your users all kind of having their own individual user license? You can track better who's creating what. Do you see that there's a change for the better in the fact that, not just adhering to privacy and security policies, but is it making it easier on your staff too to kind of keep to their silos?
Yeah, I mean, we also have assigned data leads per team on the programming side. So it actually makes it real easy to be able to identify who is the proper person. And we've actually assigned specific licenses to individuals. So we went the limited license, which is just the generic view only, very limited editing capabilities, and then the standard license, which we've tiered actually. So we have 3 different tiers for content management, and we have 2 different tiers for audit privileges. So we've actually been able to go so granular and actually restrict people from being able to do certain things that are just not within their role, and that just avoids potential hiccups. So it's definitely been good. And it makes it definitely a lot easier and simpler and cleaner for people to just log on and see the forms that they have built
Mhm.
versus trying to dig through 300 plus forms when there was only one license.
And you guys you're up to how many licenses now?
36, I believe.
Wow. So we've got a large team now that's in there and kind of utilizing everything. That's great. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more then. I guess one other question I had in terms of sort of the fueling, was there a shift or a change at all that you felt in the support going from, a lower tier plan onto that enterprise level? Was that some of the driving factors?
So the one thing that was a challenge was we didn't necessarily know what to ask,
Mm-hmm.
because what we were going into was just, like you said, it's a legacy plan. It's a basic
Yeah.
plan. It didn't necessarily have all the bells and whistles. So we didn't actually know
Mm-hmm.
what bells and whistles we wanted to turn on or off.
Yeah.
So that definitely was a little bit of a challenge, and it would have been awesome to be able to have that rundown or like a checklist or something where could have been given to us in advance so that while we were planning, because it was myself and my data team that were basically the project managers of the migration over
Yeah.
to our upgrade to our new plan. So that would have definitely been definitely a help. But the team was awesome. Um, you know, you guys are still helping us to this very day. We're still trying to clean up. I mean, I think that was the other thing, going from a single license to a multi-license. One of our main challenges was archiving.
Yeah. It's a good process,
At
though.
that time, almost 9 years of data. So definitely a challenge. It took a lot of work. Appreciated all the support that your staff gave us. And the fact that, some of the stuff was easy, you guys were able to do. And then some of the stuff we had to do manually. So not the end of the world, but it was very helpful so that we could actually plan all the stuff that we had to do in such a short amount of time.
Mhm.
So we actually surveyed our users. We actually had to survey them to say which ones are active forms and which ones are not, so that this way we prioritize the forms that needed to be active as soon as the upgrade happened. And then we've been on this plan for a year now, and we're still cleaning it up
Yeah.
because we just
Housekeeping.
prioritized. Yeah, we only prioritized what needed to get prioritized. And now, little by little, we, bite the elephant one bite at a time.
Kind of like spring cleaning, right? We got to go through the dirty closets and clean everything up once in a while.
Exactly.
But in the process, you mentioned you kind of relied on both our implementation team, because you guys went through the implementation, kind of
Correct.
re-implementing, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
though you already knew form assembly, but great.
It,
And then
it was we were pretty much learning it almost not from scratch, but definitely learning it in a more enhanced way because they were settings that we didn't know were there. And the team was like super excited. I remember the
good.
dynamic pick list was like something that the team was just super excited over.
Great. Love hearing that. I know that's a big functionality that really makes people excited. So just to be cautious of time here, let's move on to the next, let's talk about the migration a little bit. If you can share sort of, I know you were just sharing a little bit. We know there's a little bit of manual work that has to go into, going off of one instance onto the next one, but how was that form migration process for you?
It was bumpy. Bumpy in a way of, just like I said, the cleanup, the actual planning. It took, myself, our data team, and all of our form assembly users support on it. Um, like I said, that's where the checklist would have been amazing if we would have been able to know what can be done. But I mean, we had our kickoff meeting. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great if there was like a cheat sheet for how do you upgrade from a single license to a multi-license? Like what are things? But it's so understanding that everybody's case is different. I understand the challenges of that. but that was our main thing. We made a lot of assumptions of what we needed, because we didn't know what to ask and we didn't know what was going to be required of us versus what was just going to be migrated over, and conducted by you guys. You know, the active and inactive forms, the implementation team was great. I still talk to them right now, like I told you, with cleaning up data. Definitely very helpful. We definitely had to plan to prevent service disruptions, because when we did upgrade, we had about 50 forms that needed to be active throughout the upgrade. So that was definitely took a lot of planning and training so that the teams understood, okay, from this day forward, you're going to use this site. And then archive data you'll find in this other site until everything was migrated over. But no complaints now. But it was definitely a challenging transition. I'm not going to say it was, you know, squeaky clean. Nothing ever is, especially a migration of that caliber.
Yeah. And that's where you guys, you know, we were kind of excited to partner with you on today's session, is you guys aren't, you weren't you're kind of the exception, right? Not everyone has as many forms as you guys have on some of those legacy plans, or as many users that were maybe using it. So it's exciting to hear it from a customer kind of what you guys are doing and what you were collecting and how many users were using it and some of the things you've experienced. Yeah, we got a plan for and kind of expect, but it's not always going to be, you know, that way. But I'm glad to hear that we had the support there for you during that.
Absolutely.
And I was going to just say something and I lost my train of thought with where I was going to go with it, but maybe it'll come back to me. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Sorry, guys. I was like, what was that? For anybody who doesn't know, who hasn't migrated off of, say, one of our legacy plans onto or any of our other plans like Essentials, Team, Enterprise, there is that kind of sweet spot. We have to find where we are keeping your old plan open at that time, and then a new one is open, like Beatrice was mentioning, and sort of they run parallel with each other, and it's sort of this cutoff date. And I think that's what you were alluding to, right, Beatrice? Is like, correct. Okay, as soon as you update the web URLs, because you get your own new URL, you get things to be more dedicated for your organization. And when that URL is updated, that's where sort of the change happens to the new system. So you kind of have to go in between the two there for a brief period.
Yep. And that's luckily, why it took a lot of emails, a lot of reminders, a lot of
with you
meetings.
Guys, that many people, for sure. Well, let's just share real quickly here before we kind of go into some Q&A. If anybody has questions, you can start throwing those in the chat now if you would like. But what are your guys' plans for the future? Do you guys have anything that you're working on at the OpNet? Anything you want to share?
So our data team is definitely looking into, they told me, the form assembly's sensitive data feature, as we do hold a lot of PII in form assembly. We definitely want to make sure that we secure it. And there is an interest to better understand workflow and explore potential use cases on how we could actually use them to streamline our forms. So those are the new 2 aspects that our team was looking forward to.
Yeah, we'll definitely be excited to work with you on adapting to workflow and meeting with me and your customer success manager and what we can do to help with those. Because I know we've got some of the new connectors and things that everyone's kind of learning about now. So, well, that's exciting. We'll be excited to work with you guys on that. All right, so just so we can make sure we save some time, is there any questions or anything coming in from the audience that we would like to ask? Go ahead and put those in the chat now. There was one that came through. Do you guys collect any type of donations through Form Assembly? Do you guys have the donation forms or anything like that, Beatrice?
No, we have a separate, I think we collect donations through a separate platform. Not 100% sure if it's actually, if the donation form is within Form Assembly though.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. Let's see here. Curious about how many, so you guys mentioned you have about 30 user licenses. One of our listeners is wondering about how many of those users are actively using Form Assembly and in what ways. I know you shared a little bit. There's some limited licenses, so those are our read-only type license, but then you've got standard user licenses. Is everyone sort of actively engaged on your guys' site?
Great question. I actually do monitor usage to make sure that everyone that is being assigned the license is actually actively using them. And because of how we use our forms, certain teams are more active than others. Because I'll give you an example, like our college team is sometimes less active in forms until the spring and summer when we're trying to put together our in-house programming that happens in the summer. So sometimes they may be inactive, sometimes they may not be, but on average, I mean, our teams are on at least once a week, once a day, sometimes depending if there is an active form that they're looking into getting responses from. We do definitely use it for exit tickets. So every single time there's like a program session that we host, we have an exit ticket that they need to complete that provides us with feedback. So there's usually, active form responses, and then our team is actually going in there and looking at those responses. So definitely more active. And then the people who have the lower tiered accounts, they're expected to have inactive activity from time to time.
Got it. Yeah, I know that was a great question for you because like we talked about at the beginning of the session, you just sort of oversee who has an account, what they're doing, making sure they're the right person to have that login. So that's a great spot for your role at the org.
Yep.
All right, I'll give it another minute or so, see if there's any other questions. I know we went through a lot of information and Beatrice did a great job sort of honing in on their experience and what to expect. All right, so let's see. Beatrice, I think you can answer this. Like I said, everyone, not always the active user. What do people need to view in Form Assembly? So having a login to Form Assembly that they aren't able to get from Salesforce. So I can give this answer from other organizations too. So we'll go with you first, Beatrice.
All right, so in our use case, not every form that we not every response to a form that within Form Assembly is actually connected into Salesforce. So that's where the juggle comes through. But a majority of our student forms are integrated into Salesforce because we have a contact record for every student. So, and then we pick the programming teams choose which information they're actually going to include into Salesforce. So that's where the juggle is.
Great. Yep. That's kind of what I was going to say. There's often things or people don't want to maybe pay for a Salesforce license because they don't need to have full access into Salesforce, but there's data that they could get specific from Form Assembly. So they can have a Form Assembly license instead without full Salesforce access, and they can get the data and export it that way. All right. So I'm going to begin wrapping up here because I wanted to make sure I got this slide on here. We have some resources on the screen here. So there are some information we can send out about supporting the Opportunity Network. We have some resource links that we can send out if anyone's interested. They have a gala coming up. If you are in the New York area, we'd love to share that information with you all as well. It's in the Resource Center. I apologize. It's in the session in the Resource Center linked there. But yes, if you're in the New York area, we would love to have some support for one of our amazing customers. And as well, you can schedule time with our team if you guys are interested in hearing more, if you are on any of our plans and are thinking about what is the next level, what could I potentially be missing out on or not utilizing or to our fullest capabilities. We have our account management team here for you all to answer those questions. So I'd love to meet with you all and chat through those. And thanks everyone for coming today. Really appreciate it. And hope to see you on our next sessions. Thank you, Beatrice, too, for joining. We appreciate your time.
Bye, everyone.